No such problems with the Suzuki's diesel. Bertie was mighty happy.
As far as diesel hatches go, the Ritz's diesel engine is by far the best derivative of the 1.3 GTD that Fiat makes. It's smooth, it's refined, it's aggressive when you need it, and there's a lot of low down torque as well. However, I have noticed on this part of Rohtang, that is on the Ladakh side, the turbo started kicking in at about 2200 RPM. So there is a bit of delay, a little bit of turbo lag. Not that it really bothers driving this car too much, because you just have to slot it into first, get it back into the power band, and off you go.
We were climbing higher and higher. The altitude was making our heads light and dizzy and the cars breathless. The terrain too becomes ever more difficult with heart-stopping river crossings, but towards the end, that's where the BRO have finished sections of the road, and it is truly fabulous. Like a tarmac rally stage out of Rally Monte Carlo, perfect to get the Jazz working. The Jazz, like most Japanese cars, feels light and fragile, but in reality, she's pretty strong. I'm surprised with the way she's handling these rough roads. There are no squeaks, no rattles, and the suspension is not feeling like it's going to come apart. In fact, it feels tougher than the other cars in this test, cars which are allegedly better built for India, more suited to Indian conditions. While I couldn't stop singing praises of the Jazz, Bert was getting a bit nitpicky with the Ritz.
The Ritz gearbox has received a lot of praise, but to me, I think the gear shift is a bit notchy, and I don't like these extremely short throws. With a little bit of spirited driving, if I push this car really hard, I just have this feeling that the gearbox may just pop out in my hand.
Having given up on ambitious plans to go to Sokar Lake, we grab a quick cup of tea at the base of Baralacha and do a quick car swap and begin the ascent to Baralacha. At the start of this drive, I expected the I-20 to do rather well. If not winning, I honestly expected it to be at least amongst the top 3. Well, surprise, surprise, it's not amongst the top 3. What's even more of a surprise is how well the Ritz is coping with all the bashing. Now we know from our past Reti Himalaya experience that Marutis are built quite tough, but the way the Ritz is going through all this is quite impressive. There's not a single squeak nor rattle. The engine is the least affected by the altitude and lack of oxygen, and it's a nice car to drive. It's so nice in fact that everybody is clamoring to drive this car. It's also very refined and silent, but that's quite the opposite of what you would say about the Fabia.
The engine is a bit noisy and clattery, and it sounds like a tractor coming out of the woods. But that is why this cabin has been built to perfection. It isolates all noises from outside. And once you roll out the windows, silence.
The extreme altitude and lack of oxygen was now beginning to tell on the cars, but more so on the drivers, who had become extremely crotchety and irritable. Altitude sickness is a terrible thing to experience, and once it hits you, it hits you. There's nothing you can do to mitigate its effects other than running to lower lying regions post haste. The camera crew were under huge pressure here to call it a wrap.
And so we end the show at the Baralacha Pass. At 16,500 feet, it's the 3rd highest pass in the country, but it also has the unenviable reputation of being the most treacherous and the most deadly pass in the country. We started the day with the top 3 cars in this test, the Fabia, the Jazz and the Ritz, and we finally have a winner, and it is the Ritz. In a perfect world with money being no object, we would all take the Jazz, but the Ritz, it does almost everything that the Jazz does and at a far cheaper price. The fact of the matter is there are no losers in this test. All 9 cars came up here and all 9 cars will be driven all the way back to Delhi. But now, before the altitude gets to us, we are heading back to Jispa to get some well-deserved rest. Thanks for watching.
Read more about this spectacular drive and how the cars performed in the bumper 11th anniversary issue of Overdrive magazine, coming soon to a newsstand near you.